Now, to be honest and upfront, I never played Dead Space before this remake. I was 8 years old when the game first came out, and I wasn't trying to play no survival horror game back then. So when I heard how everyone spoke about this game in comparison to Callisto, I was like, okay, Callisto's just the appetizer. When it comes to Dead Space, I'm excited to see what the hype's about. I'm gonna get the main course with Dead Space. But I'm sorry to say, these are basically the same game. Now, I don't want to turn this into a comparison video, but I will do some slight comparing, only because I understand having a preference for one game over the other. I just don't understand how you can say one game is a classic and completely hate the other game the way I've seen so many people do so. And as someone who has played these games back to back without any rose-tinted glasses or nostalgia, I feel like I can give an honest take on both sides. So, I'm gonna state some obviouses right here. But both take place in space. They have minimal UI with the health on the back of your neck. You stomp enemies out for resources. You're walking through narrow hallways of a ship 80% of the game. You're fighting one enemy basically a majority of the game. It's a little bit more in Dead Space, but they both have stories that I feel like are not so great. And where they differentiate themselves, I'd say, is Callisto focuses more on the melee combat a bit more, mainly in the first few hours. I'm not one of the people that thinks it's a melee game the whole way through. I think it relies on it in the first few hours, and it gradually separates itself from that the farther you go along. But I think it looks a lot better. I think the death animations are 10 times better. I actually like the telekinesis powers a bit more in Callisto, although I feel like it can be OP at times. But I do think the game has a bunch of problems still. There's a little stiffness. Sometimes the dodge button doesn't work. Overall, I gave it a 6.5. I don't think it's the best game ever at all. I just don't think it's so far off from this game. Now, what I can say about Dead Space is it's scarier for one. Its movement is faster. There are areas that are slightly bit more open. It's not as claustrophobic as Callisto is. There's no vent scenes, thankfully. Guns feel a bit better here. Enemy variety is a tiny bit better. And there are more unique bosses, although some can be a bit annoying. And I like the floating in space section. This is kind of cool. Whee! So gameplay wise, it's cool. It did take a little while for me to warm up to it, actually. I'm not too sure why that was, but maybe I needed to unlock more weapons. But at first, I didn't fall in love with it right away. I felt like it was a bit dated. It was a bit, I don't know, it didn't really grab me at first. It did take a bit to fully capture me. But gameplay-wise, I liked it. I thought rather than other games where it's go for headshots, you're shooting off limbs, which is a nice deviation from other games and the norm. They give you a wide range of weapons, although eventually I decided to vote some because I felt like I only needed 4 weapons at a time, otherwise I didn't feel like switching between, going through inventory. They only give you ammo for weapons that you have on you. So eventually I just stuck with my select few weapons and took it from there. Story-wise, I felt it was a bit predictable. Lines were delivered a bit questionable. I just felt like the story here wasn't it. I never knew if people liked Dead Space for the story or not. After playing it, I'm guessing not. Maybe it picks up in the second game. I know that's one people prefer, but here, story was predictable. It wasn't really keeping me interested. I felt like Callisto's story flopped. I feel like it wasn't a good story either, but it kept me interested a little bit more, I'd say. This game, I was just kind of going through the motions, and it was like, okay, all right, cool. I wasn't in love with the story at all. The game's between maybe about 10 to 12 hours, I'd say, which I feel like is acceptable. Maybe if you've played the game before and it's kind of on the short side, now you feel like I've done this already, but for me as a completely new experience, even if it felt dated at times, I'd say it was worth it. I wouldn't say I felt like I got ripped off. I don't need 20, 30, 40, 50 hour long games to justify $70 price tags. I feel like As long as it's a fun, good experience, I don't need it to have all this filler content or drag itself out or pad itself out with things that aren't necessary or don't add to the experience. Even this 10 to 12 hours I felt like could have been tightened up. I was getting towards the end of the game like, damn, there's something else wrong with the ship, damn. I'm ready to be done with this. It did drag ever so slightly, maybe about an hour or two even. I would have minded being a bit shorter than this. But I don't feel like I got ripped off. I don't feel like I got finessed. The upgrade system was cool. I guess it was alright. I didn't need to upgrade my armor. I didn't feel like I needed to upgrade my armor, but I just liked looking a little bit more cooler every time, so I just kept dumping resources into the armor for no reason. I gotta get that drip right, you know what I mean? But when it came to status and those kind of powers, I'd use it on the bosses to slow them down. They don't really give you a lot. It doesn't regen. There's actually not a lot of regeneration stations either, so, I used it sparingly, and the telekinesis powers, I didn't even realize to the end of the game you can cut off an arm and then throw the arm to pin an enemy down. That was somewhat cool, it was alright. But like I said, I wasn't loving the powers as much as I was in Callisto. And just to conclude everything, I feel like if I had to score it, I gave Callisto a 6.5. I'd probably give this about a 7.5. Maybe it's one of those games where you just had to be there, but for me, I wasn't playing through this like, this is a classic. Oh my god, I love this. I was like, it's a good game. It's cool. Don't feel finessed. Don't feel ripped off. I enjoyed my time with it. But if you put either game in front of me, depending on the day, I could go either way. I wasn't like, oh my god, like, this blows the other game out of the water. I feel like Dead Space accomplishes what it sets out to do a little bit more than Callisto. I feel like Callisto does need a bit more polish. That's why I give the slight edge to Dead Space. But overall, I just don't see how you can love one game and hate the other, because I feel like, one's a spiritual successor, and I don't feel like it really flopped too much in trying to accomplish what it set out to do. It differentiated itself a little bit with the melee combat, but was it terrible? Was it awful? I don't think so. So yeah, when I first started both games, the first few hours I'd give to Callisto, but the deeper I got, I was like, okay, I can see why people enjoy it a bit more. And I think both games are cool experiences for a playthrough. I don't think either game's classic. I don't think either game's terrible. I liked them. I thought they were cool experiences, cool one playthrough experiences. But I'm feeling a little extra stuffy today, so thanks for bearing with me through the video. But that's all, man. I got a couple more videos on the way, so if you want to see the Callisto review, then that's the last video I dropped. But other than that, man, I'ma head out. Peace.